Hey guys, Optimus here. Like I said, I always have that 10-15 second intro, kind of just let everybody get wound up, or just to give a couple seconds in case you hit the button you're not ready. So today I'm going to do my first DD one. You may watch me log into TrendSpider. No, you won't get my password. Um, and I might do some TA on some of the more popular stocks from the week. If I do, it'll obviously be AMC, GME, Fun, BBIG, Grom. Got PTSD from that one. Um, Ford, Tesla, GFAI, some of the other ones I saw bopping around. I'll take care of those. But at first, we're going to be doing an SEC rule. And it's release number 3311013, 34-93782, file number S7-20-21. This will be in the description below. So, in case you guys want to know that, you can click around, go to it on your own. I do have some pages highlighted specifically that I'm going to be covering. So, like I said, with all of these, there's always that comment period where they let retail, which their comments are always a joke, come in and say how they feel about it. SEC does not take those seriously. I'm just letting you guys know. I would not either with the stuff that gets posted. That is more for institutions and legal teams saying like, hey, this doesn't look right, or hey, this may have a more devastating effect than you realize. So take that with a grain of salt for what it is. This rule happens to be, let me go back up to the top. This happens to be in regards to the 10b5-1. The reason why I want to highlight this is how Adam Aaron has been selling his shares. Okay. People have misunderstood this from day one, and it's a shame. With that being said, we're going to go over this quickly. There's a couple of pages. I'm going to read through the intro, like why they do it, which I always do on my spaces, but now I have a couple of pages specifically written down where I'm going to go and hit certain criteria, and you're going to go, oh, that makes sense, right? Because they're trying to change things for the better, which I've been trying to harp on for months. Now you're going to be able to see me harp on it without distractions. So the changes are coming that we need, right? So whenever people start screaming and shouting and typing, I'll stupid, let it go. The changes are here. It's okay. So, like I said, this is about the 10b5 forms. We scroll down. So the intro says Congress enacted the federal securities laws to promote fair and transparent securities markets to avoid frauds and substitute a philosophy of full disclosure for the philosophy of caveat emptor, and thus to achieve a high standard of business ethics in the securities industry. They then go to say that they kind of screwed up and haven't done the best jobs. And it says on document page 6, because on your browser it'll be a different page. It says the commission adopted Rule 10b5-1 in August 2000 to provide more clarity on the meaning of manipulative and deceptive devices or contrivances prohibited by Exchange Act Section 10b, Rule 10b-5, with respect to trading on the basis of material, non-public information. At that time, the federal courts diverged on the issue of what, if any, connection must be shown between a trader's possession and material, non-public information, and his or her trading to establish liability under said rule. Addressed is by the issue provided that a purchase or sale of an issuer security is on the basis of material, non-public information about that security. So, essentially, CEOs, officers of companies, they come in, they go, hey, we know we can only sell our shares in blocks every quarter, every 6 months, however their contract is set up. With this, they go, hey, we have X amount of shares. We're going to take them, give custodianship to Citi, BOFA, Fargo, whatever institution they want to give it to. And go, hey, throughout the year, if certain things are hit, like if the stock hits 27.42, sell a block of shares here. If the company does X, Y, and Z, sell a bunch of shares here. That's how that's set up. It sets benchmarks instead of time windows. So it gives them more leeway. And as I go through this, you'll see that there was a lot of loopholes that I believe they did find. So with that being said, because the documents are going to get a little bit longer in paragraph, I'm going to take my ugly mug off the page. So you guys can see more as I read along. I don't have to try to keep it up at the top. All right, that should do it. So, and it's funny that they did this in 2000, right around the dot-com bubble, right? Because a lot of insiders dumped, and it caused a lot of turmoil through the markets. So scroll down here. So the end of that page, the beginning of document page 8, says that the Rule 10b5-1 consistently outperforms trading of executives and directors not conducted under Rule 10b5-1 trading arrangements. So what they're saying is CEOs and officers of companies that enact these programs have better consistency with getting higher profit margins on their shares and their trades, which is a problem, right? It even says here, practices that have raised concern, including corporate insiders using multiple overlapping plans to selectively cancel individual trades on the basis of material non-public information, or commencing trades soon after the adoption of a new plan or the modification of an existing plan. That's a problem, right? They're admitting that they're finding this and they're changing it in real time. So essentially, it's kind of like the arbitrage thing. They make 2 or 3 plans and they go, hey, because we do them at different times, we now see where things are going. We can cancel A, enact B, and have C as a backup. That's crazy. It's essentially allowing them to use insider info to make more money when they sell shares. It's mind-boggling that it took this long for this stuff to get caught like that. But it even says here, recommended that we consider revising Rule 10b5-1 to address apparent loopholes in the rule that allow corporate insiders to unfairly exploit informational asymmetries. They're paying attention. They can't fix the entire market until they fix the inner workings of it, right? If they can't stop CEOs and the heads of companies from screwing over investors in their own company, it doesn't matter what they do to help us. Just like they can do and say whatever they want for us, but unless they actually fix directly the root cause, which is the internal workings of the market through loopholes, it doesn't matter what they tell us, right? They can make 1,000 rules, but if they don't fix the inside, they're going to continue to rot, right? So document page 9, right in the middle, it says, we note that similar concerns about misuse of material non-public information have been raised in connection with an issuer stock repurchase. In a separate release, we are proposing amendments to update the disclosure requirements for purchases of equity securities by an issuer and affiliate purchasers under item 703 of Regulations SK footnote 22, which is right here, right? I might actually re-go over that one because I did do that in a space once, so I may actually go back over and do that one on another video. So they're even paying attention how they're buying things back. One of the things they're doing is they're putting a cool down period, kind of like what they did with Congress, where like no matter what you do, you can't trade for X amount of days. They're starting with a 120-day mandatory cooling off period. In case you guys don't know, that's 4 months. It's going to take them more than a quarter to execute these things, which makes it a lot harder to use insider info. That's clearly a beautiful move. And then it says that there's going to be for issuers, there's going to be a 30-day mandatory cooling off period as well. So they're cooling off both sides of said transaction. Okay, this is a beautiful thing on their side. And it says limit the availability of the affirmative defense rule under 10b5 for a single trade plan to one single trade plan during any consecutive 12-month period. It's going to be harder to defend their actions if it's longer than 12 months. Before, they had a much longer time period where they could kind of do and mess around however they wanted to. That's a problem. That's now being taken away. Require an issuer to disclose its Form 10K and Form 20F whether or not, and if not, why not, the issuer has adopted insider trading policies and procedures that govern the purchase, sale, or other disposition of the registrant securities by directors, officers, and employees that are reasonably designed to promote compliance with either trading laws, rules, and regulations. That's fantastic, right? The company now even has to disclose both ends of that transaction, why and how. More transparency is coming to the market, right? So this part comes in, basically just says, hey, we're changing these things that I was just talking about, just in more legal verbiage. So I'm actually going to go ahead and fly down to page 21. Bear with me. So this goes to the restricting multiple overlapping rule 10b5-1 trading arrangements and single trade arrangements. So they will not be entitled to the affirmative defense for a trade if they are entered into or alter a corresponding or hedging transaction or position with respect to the planned transactions. So they cannot defend legally, they don't have any loopholes if they mess around with their proposed trades, which is good, right? But now they're proposing to release. The commission explained that this requirement was designed to prevent persons from devising schemes to exploit inside information by setting up pre-existing hedged trading programs and then canceling the execution of the unfavorable side of the hedge while permitting execution of the favorable transaction. The use of multiple trading arrangements can be used to simulate this kind of impermissible hedging, right? They're allowed to do it they're allowed to have multiple overlapping rules, but they're trying to change it, right? So skip down to the sentence. We're also concerned that a person could circumvent the proposed cooling off period by setting up multiple overlapping trading arrangements and deciding later which trades to execute and which to cancel after they become aware of material non-public information, but before it is publicly released. We're proposing to amend Rule 10.5b(c)(1) to eliminate the affirmative defense for any trades by a trader who has established multiple overlapping trading arrangements for open market purchases or sales of the same class of securities. Under the proposed amendment, the affirmative defense would not be available for trades under a trading agreement when the trader maintains another trading arrangement or subsequently enters into an additional overlapping trading arrangement for open market purchases or sales. Skip down the next sentence. It is designed to eliminate the ability of traders to use multiple plans strategically to execute trades based on material, non-public information. You're seeing in literal real time that they're admitting that, hey, even though we proposed this rule, we already found another potential loophole. Stop saying they're not doing their job. They're catching themselves while they're already writing the new rules. So please stop saying that. Just because it's longer than you may want or because something's unethical that may not be fair for us, so it seems illegal, doesn't mean it is. It just means it sucks. There's an extreme difference there, right? So it says that it does not apply to employee stock programs or dividend reinvestment plans. I'm not going to go into why. That's a whole other big thing of how they differentiate from the 10b5-1 rule. So I'm not going to get into that. It's not really important for this ruling because that's done by the company itself, not by the individual. So that's kind of why it doesn't apply. But, all right, going down to page 25. One of the reasons why I'm scrolling down so far is because after each section it says request for comments, right? So I can just keep coming down. I can bypass all of those. So, page 25. Currently, there are no mandatory disclosure requirements concerning the use of Rule 10b5-1. The lack of comprehensive public information about the use of these arrangements by officers, directors, and issuers, whether pursuant to said rule, trading arrangements, or otherwise, deprives investors of the ability to assess whether those parties may be misusing their access to material non-public information. This lack of transparency, I'll say it again, transparency may be allowing improper trading to go undetected and undermining the determinate impact of our insider trading laws. In addition, the lack of public information, say it again for those in the back, lack of public information about the use of these arrangements by companies and corporate insiders limit investors' abilities to assess potential incentive conflicts. Oh, look at that. The SEC wants transparency for retail. Go figure. They're trying to make the markets more fair. So we get to go down and skip to the middle of the page here. I'm going to start right here on the WOW codes. While codes of ethics may address insider trading issues, they often lack the detail necessary for investors to assess actual practices. Like I said, it might be unethical, it might suck, but it might not be illegal, the things that we find surrounding potential insider trading. Accordingly, we are proposing new item 408 under Regulation SK and corresponding amendments to Form 10Q and 10K to require quarterly disclosures of the Rule 10b5-1 and other trading arrangements by a registrant and its directors, blah, blah, blah. Annual disclosure of a registrant's insider trading policies and procedures. We are also proposing the new item 16J to Form 20F to require annual disclosures of a foreign private issuer's insider trading policies and procedures. So everyone that likes to be and complain about foreign entities, here you go. And no, those shares are not in Brazil. So I just had to say it, felt compelled. So it's not only a foreign, it's a foreign private issuer. They're knocking down doors everywhere. They're saying, you're hiding, we will find you. This is all super bullish, by the way. Like I know people always say, oh, but you sound so doom and gloom all the time. Well, it's not. So now I'm going to scroll down to page 34. Like I said, it's always document 34, sometimes on the browser. It appears differently. All right. Here we go. So structured data requirements. We're proposing to require registrants to tag information specified by item 408 in inline XBRL in accordance with rule blah, blah, blah with the Edgar file manager. The proposed requirements would include block text tagging of narrative disclosures as well as a detailed tagging of quantitative amounts disclosed within the narrative disclosures. Inline XBRL is both machine readable and human readable, which improves the quality and usability of XBR data for investors. Once again, for investors, right? They keep saying us. It's no longer just market. It would benefit investors by making the disclosures more readily available and easily accessible to investors, market participants, and others for aggregation, comparison, filtering, and other analysis as compared to requiring a non-machine readable data language such as ASCII or 2 or HTML. Do you get the point now? They say it in every filing. Everybody still screams about it. This would enable automated extraction analysis of the granular data required by the proposed rules, allowing investors and other market participants to more efficiently perform large-scale analysis and comparison of this information across issuers and time periods. Investors doing more efficiently to perform large-scale analysis. They know we're learning, people. We're making a lot of changes. So now I'm going to go down to 44. And I'll show you guys what the chart looked like on TrendSpider for a couple of those big boys. Sentiment-wise. And then I did see a tweet that I'm going to have to actually speak on because it was egregious. I'm not going to say who it was, but it is. I did have to quote tweet it to shut that crap down. So, page 44 was my last noted page to read. I'm going to start with section D here. Currently, section 16, reporting persons are required to report any bona fide gift of equity securities registered under the EAS 12 on Form 5. Exchange Act Rule 16A3F provides that every person who at any time during an issuer's fiscal year was subject to Section 16 of the Exchange Act must file a Form B within 45 days after the issuer's fiscal year and to disclose certain beneficial ownership transactions and holding non-reported previously on Forms 3, 4, or 5. Huh, that's funny. They're making people report things when they used to not have to. How about that? And then to address concerns about the gifting process, they want to amend Exchange Rule 16A-3 to require the porting of dispositions of bona fide gifts of equity securities on Form 4. Under the proposed amendment, an officer, director, or a beneficial owner of more than 10% of an issuer's registered equity securities making a gift of equity securities would be required to report the gift on Form 4 before the end of the second business day following the date of execution of the transaction. This would be significantly earlier than what is required under current reporting rules. This earlier reporting deadline would help investors and other market participants and the commission better evaluate the actions. They're literally closing loopholes so they can do their job better. So everyone who keeps saying they don't do their job, they're not doing their job, here you go. Real time. Literally, real time. They're even saying that they want to help themselves do their job better. Right? Sorry, I got my hand all caught up in my mic wire here. Like I said, you won't get my password. And as always, like I said on the intro video to the channel, TrendSpider was gracious enough to hook me up with their service. So once again, thank you, TrendSpider. Like I said, full transparency. There is a link down below. If you guys like it, I will never actually push it on you, but it is there. And yes, I am setting up multiple scanners, which can go away. So clearly I had BBIG here at first. And while that loads up, there we go. Okay. So yes, I do have the R. So I will have to explain all of this craziness. So MACD, RSI with Bollinger Bands. I do have Bollinger Bands on both. Makes it a little more hectic, but I like it that way. So yes, I do have all of these things pre-programmed. So when the chart automatically loads up, they do just appear. And I do generally use anchored. It gives you longer time periods, generally speaking. I believe it gives you a more a more advanced reading, other than just what's it been in the past 6 minutes, or what's the trend for the past hour, right? This gives you much longer time periods, right? Like as you can tell, the one starts from the very bottom dip at the bottom, which it actually followed to a T. So winning. So I scroll in. I do have the 2-minute candle on. The 1-minute crack candle can make this too long sometimes. It's just kind of annoying. And if I do a higher candle, the heat maps kind of go away. So at end of business Friday with after hours, it ended right on the line, which obviously means Tuesday. Who knows, right? Short week, shorts come out harder because they have 4 days to short instead of 5, so they technically have more power, in case you guys didn't put that together yet. But it followed this train near perfect, right? It came down. There's a good chance it'll shoot up, chance it'll come down. But there's a lot of resistance right here, right? Because it gap filled. Thursday, I was in one of the BBIG calls. And I said, hey, if we can break that, it'll gap fill and we'll get a lot of resistance built. This is what I meant, right? Heat maps, heat zones, whatever you call them. Signs of resistance, heavy buying in right here. Where these are, it's harder to punch through. And it's sitting right in the middle of one. So with that being said, BYG might have a pretty sick Tuesday. All right, let's go to AMC. Right. Yes, it is being a little slow at the moment. I will have an exciting update for the channel coming early next week. Okay, this is crazy. The only problem with how I have mine set up, is because they're all anchored and they go back to time. Like the one anchored is literally quarter to date. So at at some point, this will be 3 months long. Um, is when they stagnate for so long, it makes the lines look wonky. But essentially, AMC sat right in the center of this heat zone all after hours on a slight downtrend, and it followed it near perfect. So Tuesday, who knows? But like I said, these lines of resistance are generally harder to punch through. Got to do GME. As far as for me, I like the stock. This is going to be fun. Same thing with GME. They closed right in the center of one of the major heat zones, right at 117. So Tuesday's a crapshoot. It does have resistance below it, which is good. Should help it from dropping. And there are some heat zones up top here, going up to 123.16. So if it can go up on Tuesday, it should sit in this pocket right here. Realistically, I think it'll probably bounce in here. But if it can get to 119.30 to 40 range, it should barcode in this line right here. So, as I know what barcoding is, an algorithmic thing. You can look that up. I'm not explaining it on this video. The stock that gives me the most PTSD, Grom. I'm not going to go into why I have PTS Grom. It's just a thing. If you know, you know. Grom has weird after hours, which makes the chart load wonky every time. So just gotta give me a second. There we go. So Grom has all the resistance, as you can see, from like 1.6, 1.7 to 8.3, which is why it doesn't really dip down past there. It kind of just goes down right there, which is always good times. God, Grom's even giving my computer PTSD. Dear Lord. All right, so let's go to fun. Then I'll do Ford. I know that's been a popular one. Then I guess I'll pull up Tesla. There we go. All right. So fun has great uptrend. Obviously, there's not a single downtrend line on this thing. This is what I'm excited for next week, right? This is a Trump stock, so he does have a rally tomorrow. Take that for what it is. Buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing. So we'll see what happens there. But highest volume, right? It should be nothing but uptrend. It closed right on the upper half of a resistance zone, which means it should pop up, right? So with all of this being said, fund should have a good time. And you know what? Before I do Ford, I'll do DWAC and I'll do Mark, the other major Trump stocks. Since when these things go, they get hype on Twitter. Pop these bad boys in. Closed right at the top of the major zone, which means it should go up, right? Even if it does end up going down in this little pocket to 70, 80, it should bounce around in here without going below that line. But as you can see, all trend lines are going up, and where it closed is essentially right where this line is anyway. So it should, TA-wise, bounce in here. I know on a stock that's $71 going up $3 or $4 isn't a huge jump, But, there are other trends where it could bounce higher. So it should stay in this general 70 to 73 range. Hit a mark. AVCT is a big one too. I'll drop that one on you guys real quick too. Okay, so I don't know if I've ever seen this many heat zones before on something. So I don't know if they plan on driving this to the dirt. I don't know how they will, right? Because it closed right in the middle between two. And I don't know how they could punch it through all of this. This is insane. So a lot of people bought Mark high Friday. I mean, high for that day, right? It's only 89 cents, whatever it was. But a lot of people came in 87 to 89 range. It's going to be hard to pop that one down. EVCT. All right, come on, big boy. Once again, another stock with zero negative trend lines, right? That doesn't mean it won't go down or can't go down because clearly it closed right below. But it is in a major zone of resistance for them. So realistically, it should come up. Even if they do drop it, it has to punch through a lot of resistance going all the way down to $1.59-ish. So it should fight back if they do try to drive it down again. So, all right, do Tesla. See what Papa Musk's got going on. Oh, closed right below the resistance zone. That'll be interesting to see how Tesla moves. I don't know. There is one downward line though, so hopefully it doesn't ride that, right? We all like Papa Musk, even though he's the next major Bond villain in real life. I'll do Lucid for those homies. Then I'll do Ford. Then I'm just going to have to mention that tweet because it was just absurd. For everyone that was complaining about the Lucids, right in the resistance zone, right in the middle of its strong trend. Lucid should be good to go, right? It should follow in here and then slowly work its way back up. Obviously, nothing's ever perfect. It could follow the orange on Tuesday morning. Who knows? But it's sitting in a real strong spot. And then Ford. I will eventually do live ones too. I do plan on doing those eventually. We'll just have to wait and see. So unfortunately, Ford was in a fantastic ascending wedge here, right? It did break through, but it's sitting right in the middle of a normal upward trend. So Ford's in a good spot. It's obviously right in the center of a major resistance zone for them. So driving it down should be hard. Popping it up should be easier. Obviously, we'll have to see what happens. Hopefully this orange line is null and void. So we'll just have to check on that later. Now, my ugly mug's about to come back. So, sorry. That tweet, though, right? There's obviously a lot of FUD going around always. But when it comes to that, I see things sometimes that are egregious, right? I saw a post by somebody, and it was trying to prove how they're paying bots to come in and how we shouldn't interact with them so they don't get paid. Yes, if you think an account is a bot or a plant, just don't talk to it, right? Like, who cares? The post that they used had zero proof or evidence of this, and it was from the JIDF. In my response to that tweet, I did leave a link to what that is. That was a group set up to fight anti-Semitic sentiments on websites and chat boards. It has nothing to do with the stock market, right? This person had zero proof of them coming into the market, zero proof of them paying people to be on StockTwits, Twitter, Facebook, broker comment sections. There was zero proof of that, but they claimed it was like the smoking gun. Stop. Literally, it was a group set up to fight anti-Semitic things, and you're going to blast that out. It's insane. Pay more attention. The JIDF was actually on the top of the screenshot. Like, you couldn't even hide it. It's just insane. Right? Now, with that being said, I do hope everyone has a fantastic holiday weekend, right? MLK Day is coming up. Markets closed Monday. And as always, let's get that bread, baby.